Thank you for being here today. I am honored to speak on a subject that is as timeless as it is transformative. Put God first. In our fast-paced, ever-changing world, it is easy to get caught up in the rush of life, chasing dreams, building careers, accumulating wealth, and seeking approval from others. We are driven by many desires, and while ambition and hard work are admirable, they can leave us feeling empty and unsatisfied if we lose sight of what truly matters. Putting God first is about realigning our priorities and centering our lives on a foundation that is unshakable, regardless of external circumstances. It's a powerful reminder that, above all else, there is a higher purpose for our lives. When we put God first, everything else falls into place in a way that brings deeper meaning, peace, and fulfillment. When we talk about putting God first in our lives, one of the most significant benefits is gaining a strong foundation for purpose and direction. In the hustle and bustle of everyday life, it's easy to feel lost or disconnected, not knowing exactly where we are headed or what we are meant to accomplish. People often spend years chasing goals, searching for meaning, and attempting to create a fulfilling life only to find that something still feels missing. This sense of confusion or lack of clarity is something many experience, especially when their lives are driven solely by external pursuits. However, when we choose to put God first, we invite His divine guidance into our lives, and suddenly everything takes on a new meaning. It's as though the fog lifts, and we begin to see things from a higher perspective. Putting God first helps us align with a purpose far greater than anything we could craft for ourselves. It's not just about career achievements, financial success, or even personal accomplishments. It's about living in harmony with the Creator's plan for our lives. This spiritual alignment brings not only clarity, but also a deep sense of fulfillment. First and foremost, putting God first sets the foundation for a life of purpose by providing a solid anchor amid life's uncertainties. In a world that constantly shifts and changes, it's hard to find something reliable to stand on. What once seemed secure can vanish in an instant. Jobs change, relationships end, circumstances shift. But God remains constant. His plan is enduring, unchanging, and always in our best interest. When we prioritize Him, we find stability in that constancy. No matter what happens externally, we know that our lives are part of something bigger, and that gives us a sense of peace and direction. Without this foundation, it's easy to get caught up in trying to control every aspect of life. We set goals, make plans, and sometimes even obsess over how things should turn out. But life rarely follows the script we write for ourselves. Unexpected detours happen, and sometimes things don't go according to plan. This is where many people lose their sense of direction when they find themselves in situations they didn't anticipate or don't want. However, when you put God first, you are reminded that your life is part of a larger divine design. Even when things don't go the way you imagine, you can trust that God has a purpose in it and that everything is working together for your ultimate good. This trust allows you to release control and surrender to God's guidance, knowing that His plan is far better than anything you could envision. One of the most powerful effects of putting God first is the discovery of your true calling. Every individual has a unique set of talents, gifts, and passions, but many people spend years searching for how to use them in a meaningful way. When God is at the center of your life, He reveals how these abilities fit into His greater plan. You begin to realize that your skills aren't just for personal success. They are meant to contribute to something much more significant. Whether that's serving others, spreading love, or creating positive change in the world. This sense of calling brings purpose to everything you do. It transforms your work, your relationships, and even your business, opportunities to live out God's will. Putting God first also offers guidance when we face critical decisions in life. Many people struggle with indecision or fear when it comes to making big choices, whether it's choosing a career path, making a financial investment, or deciding on a relationship. The weight of these decisions can be overwhelming, especially when the outcomes seem uncertain. But when you prioritize God, you begin to rely on His wisdom to guide your choices. Through prayer, reflection, and spiritual discernment, you can tap into God's infinite knowledge, trusting that He will direct your steps in the right direction. This doesn't mean life will be free of challenges or that every decision will be easy, but it does mean that you have a divine partner leading you, giving you confidence that you're making decisions aligned with your ultimate purpose. There is also great freedom that comes with putting God first. Without God as our foundation, we are often slaves to our own desires or the expectations of others. Society tells us that success means wealth, status, or power, and it's easy to chase after those things, hoping they will provide lasting satisfaction. But once you attain them, you may find that they don't bring the fulfillment you expected. When you put God first, you are freed from the pressure of trying to meet the world's standards of success. You begin to measure your life not by worldly achievements, but by how closely you align with God's purpose for you. This shift in perspective is liberating. It allows you to live authentically, pursuing the things that truly matter and bring joy to your soul, rather than constantly striving for external validation. Moreover, putting God first helps you maintain balance in life. It's easy to become consumed by one area, whether it's work, relationships, or personal goals at the expense of everything else. When you prioritize God, He helps you maintain perspective, ensuring that all areas of your life are in harmony. You begin to see your work, your family, your personal life, and your spiritual life is interconnected, each playing a role in your overall purpose. This balance creates a sense of wholeness, where every aspect of life works together to support your growth and fulfillment. In conclusion, putting God first is the foundation for living a life of purpose and direction. It offers clarity in the midst of confusion, peace in the face of uncertainty, and fulfillment beyond worldly success. It aligns your talents and passions with God's greater plan, giving everything you do a deeper meaning. By trusting in God's guidance and prioritizing His will, you build a life anchored in divine purpose, a life that is both rich and meaningful no matter what challenges or changes come your way. Life is filled with challenges, both expected and unforeseen. We all encounter difficulties at some point, whether it's personal setbacks, health crises, financial troubles, relationship conflicts, or the loss of a loved one. These trials can leave us feeling vulnerable, overwhelmed, and sometimes even hopeless. When challenges arise, it's easy to become consumed by the fear of uncertainty or to feel as though the weight of the world is resting on our shoulders. During these times, our inner strength and resilience are put to the test. But where does that strength come from? How do we navigate the storms of life without losing hope or direction? One of the most profound ways to find strength in times of challenge is by putting God first. When we prioritize our relationship with God, we draw on a source of strength that transcends our own human limitations. Rather than relying solely on our own abilities, which can falter under pressure, we lean on God's unwavering presence, guidance, and power. This divine strength provides a firm foundation during difficult times, helping us to endure, persevere, and rise above adversity. The first way that putting God first strengthens us during challenges is through the power of faith. Faith is more than just a belief in the existence of God. It is a deep trust in His wisdom, His goodness, and His plan for our lives. When we face challenges, faith reminds us that no matter how difficult the situation may seem, God is in control. He sees the bigger picture, and He knows what is best for us, even when we don't understand why certain things are happening. Faith allows us to trust that God is working in and through our circumstances, and that He will ultimately bring good out of even the darkest situations. This faith doesn't make the challenges disappear, but it changes the way we experience them. Instead of being paralyzed by fear or consumed by worry, we are able to face our challenges with a sense of peace and calm, knowing that we are not alone in our struggles. God walks with us every step of the way, providing the strength we need to keep going. Faith also gives us the confidence that no matter how insurmountable our problems may seem, God is greater than any obstacle we face. His power is limitless, and with Him, all things are possible. In addition to faith, putting God first gives us access to His wisdom. When we encounter challenges, one of the hardest parts is often knowing how to respond. We may feel lost, confused, or unsure of what steps to take. But when we seek God's guidance, we tap into a source of infinite wisdom that can help us navigate even the most complex or painful situations. Through prayer, meditation, and reading Scripture, we open ourselves up to God's direction. His wisdom can provide clarity in moments of confusion, helping us to see our circumstances from a higher perspective. It allows us to make decisions with discernment rather than reacting impulsively out of fear or frustration. God's wisdom also helps us to recognize the lessons hidden within our challenges. While it's natural to want to avoid or escape difficulty, the truth is that challenges often serve a purpose in our spiritual growth. They refine our character, strengthen our faith, and teach us important lessons about resilience, patience, and trust. When we put God first, we begin to see challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities for growth and transformation. God uses every experience, even the painful ones, to shape us into the people He has called us to be. Another way that putting God first strengthens us in times of challenge is by providing us with a sense of hope. When we rely only on our own strength or on worldly solutions, it's easy to become discouraged or defeated when things don't go our way. But when we place our hope in God, we are reminded that there is always reason to hope, even in the face of adversity. God's promises provide us with a source of hope that is unshakable. He promises that He will never leave us or forsake us, that He will be our refuge and strength, and that He will work all things together for our good. This hope allows us to keep moving forward even when the path ahead seems uncertain. It reminds us that our present circumstances do not define our future, and that God has a plan for our lives that is far greater than we can imagine. Hope in God also enables us to maintain a positive outlook, even in the midst of hardship. It shifts our focus from the problems we face to the God who is bigger than those problems. With hope, we can face each day with the assurance that better days are ahead and that God is working behind the scenes to bring about His perfect will. Furthermore, putting God first provides us with a supportive community of believers who can help carry us through difficult times. One of the greatest gifts of the Christian faith is a sense of belonging to a larger spiritual family. When we face challenges, we don't have to go through them alone. God often works through others to provide the encouragement, support, and comfort we need. Fellow believers can offer prayers, words of wisdom, or simply a listening ear, helping to lighten our burdens. This sense of community reminds us that we are part of something bigger than ourselves and that we are not alone in our struggles. Lastly, putting God first strengthens us by giving us a sense of purpose in the midst of our challenges. When we encounter hardship, it's easy to feel as though our lives have been derailed or our plans have been derailed or our plans have been thwarted. But when we place God at the center of our lives, we are reminded that our purpose is not dependent on our circumstances. Our purpose is rooted in our relationship with God and in His calling for our lives. No matter what challenges we face, that purpose remains intact. In fact, challenges often deepen our sense of purpose. They remind us of the importance of faith, of serving others, and of living with integrity. They help us to prioritize what truly matters and to let go of the things that are temporary or superficial. When we put God first, we begin to see our challenges as part of the larger story that He is writing in our lives, a story of redemption, growth, and transformation. In conclusion, putting God first provides a wellspring of strength in times of challenge. Through faith, wisdom, hope, community, and purpose, God equips us to face difficulties with courage and resilience. He doesn't promise a life free of challenges, but He does promise to be with us every step of the way, providing the strength we need to endure and the grace to overcome. Putting God first not only transforms our individual lives, but it also deeply affects the relationships we have with others. Relationships are one of the most fundamental aspects of human life, from family to friendships, romantic connections to professional interactions. However, maintaining healthy, fulfilling, and meaningful relationships is often challenging. Conflicts arise, misunderstandings occur, and sometimes selfishness, pride, or fear can erode even the most important bonds. By prioritizing God in our lives, we are equipped with the tools and principles necessary to build, nurture, and strengthen our relationships. When God is at the center of our lives, the way we interact with others begins to reflect His love, compassion, and grace. One of the most profound teachings in the Bible is the call to love others as we love ourselves. This isn't just a suggestion, it's a commandment that speaks to the heart of human connection. However, genuine love that is patient, kind, and selfless is often difficult to maintain in the day-to-day complexities of life. This is where putting God first makes all the difference. By prioritizing God, we align our values with His, and this alignment shapes how we approach our relationships. God's love for us is unconditional, forgiving, and enduring, and when we experience this love, we are inspired to extend the same to others. Our relationships become less about personal gain or fulfilling our own desires and more about reflecting the kind of love that God shows us. This shift in focus transforms relationships, making them more authentic, meaningful, and enduring. First and foremost, putting God first teaches us humility and selflessness, two essential qualities for deepening relationships. Many conflicts in relationships arise from pride or the desire to have things our way. We often expect others to meet our needs, and when they fail to do so, frustration, resentment, or bitterness can set in. But when we put God at the center of our lives, we are reminded that true love is not about what we can get, but about what we can give. Jesus set the perfect example of this through His life of service, sacrifice, and humility. By following His example, we learn to approach relationships not with a mindset of entitlement, but with a heart of service. In practical terms, this means that we become more willing to listen to others, to forgive when we've been wronged, and to seek reconciliation rather than harbor grudges. Instead of focusing on winning arguments or proving a point, we focus on understanding and empathizing with the other person. This selflessness fosters deeper connections because it shows that we are not just interested in what the other person can offer us, but in their well-being as a whole. When people feel genuinely cared for, they are more likely to respond with trust, love, and openness, which further strengthens the bond between us. Another way that putting God first deepens relationships is by helping us cultivate a spirit of forgiveness. In any relationship, whether it's with family, friends, or a romantic partner, there will inevitably be moments of hurt or disappointment. People make mistakes and misunderstandings happen. Without forgiveness, these moments can create deep rifts and destroy even the strongest relationships. However, forgiveness is not always easy. It requires letting go of anger, pride, and the desire for revenge. When we put God first, we are reminded of the incredible forgiveness that God offers to us. Despite our flaws and failures, God forgives us time and time again, offering us grace and mercy. Reflecting on this can inspire us to extend the same forgiveness to others. We recognize that just as we are imperfect and in need of grace, so too are the people in our lives. Forgiving others doesn't mean ignoring the hurt or pretending that wrongs never happened, but it does mean choosing to release the bitterness and resentment that can poison a relationship. This act of forgiveness brings healing, not only to the relationship, but also to our own hearts, freeing us from the burden of anger and allowing love to flow more freely. Moreover, putting God first teaches us the value of communication and honesty in relationships. God desires for us to have open and honest communication with Him, and this same principle applies to our relationships with others. Misunderstandings and conflicts often arise when communication breaks down or when people withhold their true feelings out of fear, pride, or discomfort. By prioritizing God, we learn to value truth, not just in the abstract, but in our everyday interactions. Honest communication is about more than just speaking the truth. It's about speaking the truth in love. It requires vulnerability, patience, and a willingness to listen. When God is at the center of our lives, we are more likely to approach conversations with humility and a desire for reconciliation rather than defensiveness or hostility. This kind of communication fosters trust, which is the bedrock of any deep relationship. When people feel that they can be honest without fear of judgment or rejection, they are more likely to open up and share their true selves, which deepens the emotional and spiritual connection between individuals. Additionally, putting God first helps us to approach relationships with gratitude and appreciation. It's easy to take the people in our lives for granted, especially those closest to us. However, when we view our relationships through the lens of faith, we recognize that every person in our life is a gift from God. This perspective changes the way we treat others. Instead of focusing on their flaws or shortcomings, we begin to appreciate their strengths, their kindness, and the unique ways they enrich our lives. This attitude of gratitude fosters a spirit of encouragement and affirmation in relationships. We become more intentional about expressing our appreciation, building others up with words of kindness and encouragement rather than criticism or negativity. This positivity strengthens the bond between us and encourages the other person to feel valued and loved. Finally, putting God first provides us with a deeper understanding of love itself. In a world that often confuses love with fleeting emotions or selfish desires, God shows us what true, unconditional love looks like. It is patient, kind, and enduring. It is not easily angered, and it keeps no record of wrongs. When we put God first, we are called to love others in the same way. This kind of love is transformative, capable of healing broken relationships, overcoming differences, and creating deep, lasting connections. In conclusion, putting God first enriches and deepens our relationships in profound ways. It teaches us humility, selflessness, and forgiveness, helping us to build connections that are rooted in love and grace. It fosters open communication, trust, and a spirit of gratitude, creating relationships that are not only strong, but also spiritually fulfilling. By aligning our lives with God's teachings, we reflect His love in our interactions with others, leading to more meaningful and enduring relationships. Living with integrity and fulfillment is a pursuit that resonates deeply with the human soul. We all desire a life that reflects authenticity, purpose, and wholeness. Yet, in a world filled with distractions, temptations, and pressures to conform, staying true to one's values and finding genuine fulfillment can be challenging. However, when we choose to put God first, we are empowered to live a life of integrity, guided by principles that transcend mere personal ambition or societal expectations. This alignment with God's will leads to a deeper sense of fulfillment that cannot be attained through material success or fleeting pleasures alone. Integrity is about living in a way that is consistent with our beliefs, values, and morals. It's about being true to ourselves and to the principles that guide us even when it's difficult. But integrity is not just about being honest with others, it's also about being honest with ourselves and with God. When we put God first, we begin to see that living with integrity is not just about following a set of rules, but about embodying the character of Christ in everything we do. This means making choices that honor God, treating others with kindness and respect, and standing up for what is right, even when it is unpopular or inconvenient. One of the key ways that putting God first helps us live with integrity is by providing a clear moral compass. In today's world, morality can sometimes feel like a moving target. What is considered right or wrong often shifts depending on cultural trends, personal opinions, or societal norms. Without a strong foundation, it's easy to become swayed by the changing tides of popular opinion or to compromise our values in the pursuit of success, approval, or comfort. However, when God is our ultimate authority, we have a firm and unchanging standard by which to measure our actions. God's Word provides timeless principles that guide us in making ethical decisions and living a life of moral integrity. Whether it's being truthful in our dealings, showing compassion to those in need, or resisting the temptation to cut corners or take the easy way out, God's teachings serve as a reliable guide. Living with integrity means that we strive to align our actions with these principles, regardless of the external pressures we may face. This consistency between our beliefs and our behavior builds trust and credibility, both in our relationship with God and in our interactions with others. Furthermore, putting God first helps us resist the temptations that can compromise our integrity. Temptations to lie, cheat, or act selfishly are part of the human experience, and none of us are immune to them. However, when we prioritize our relationship with God, we become more aware of the spiritual battle we are in, and we rely on God's strength to overcome these temptations. Prayer, reflection, and seeking God's guidance help us stay grounded in our values and give us the courage to choose the path of righteousness, even when it's the harder road to take. In addition to helping us live with integrity, putting God first also leads to a life of true fulfillment. Many people spend their lives chasing after external markers of success, money, fame, status, or power, believing that these things will bring happiness and satisfaction. While achieving these goals may provide temporary pleasure or a sense of accomplishment, they rarely lead to lasting fulfillment. Often, once we attain them, we find ourselves wanting more, or we realize that they don't bring the deep sense of contentment we expected. True fulfillment comes from living in alignment with our higher purpose, which is rooted in our relationship with God. When we put God first, we discover that our worth and fulfillment are not tied to what we achieve or possess, but to who we are in Christ. We are reminded that we are loved, valued, and chosen by God, not because of what we do, but because of who He is. This realization frees us from the endless pursuit of worldly success and allows us to focus on what truly matters: serving others, building meaningful relationships, and living out our calling in a way that honors God. Moreover, when we live with God as our priority, we find fulfillment in even the simplest aspects of life. Everyday moments take on a deeper meaning when viewed through the lens of faith. Whether it's spending time with loved ones, helping the neighbor in need, or simply enjoying the beauty of creation, we begin to see these experiences as opportunities to connect with God and fulfill His purpose for us. This perspective shift allows us to find joy and contentment in all circumstances, not just when things are going well or when we achieve our goals. Additionally, living with integrity and putting God first provides us with a sense of peace that is essential for true fulfillment. Many people go through life feeling restless, anxious, or dissatisfied, constantly searching for something to fill the void in their hearts. This sense of emptiness often stems from living out of alignment with our true selves or with God's purpose for our lives. When we prioritize our relationship with God, we experience a peace that surpasses understanding, a peace that comes from knowing that we are walking in His will and that our lives are part of His larger plan. This peace allows us to let go of the need for control or the fear of failure that can so often dominate our lives. Instead of striving to prove our worth or seeking validation from others, we rest in the knowledge that we are already enough in God's eyes. This sense of security enables us to approach life with confidence, knowing that our worth is not dependent on external success, but on our identity as children of God. Finally, putting God first leads to a life of purpose, which is key to lasting fulfillment. When we live with integrity, we are not just going through the motions or pursuing goals for the sake of achievement. We are living with intention and purpose. God has a unique calling for each of us, and when we seek His will, we discover how our talents, passions, and experiences fit into His greater plan. This sense of purpose gives meaning to our work, our relationships, and our everyday actions. Living with purpose also allows us to make a positive impact on the world around us. Whether it's through acts of kindness, sharing our faith, or contributing to the well-being of our communities, we find fulfillment in knowing that our lives are making a difference. This sense of contribution, grounded in God's purpose for us, brings a deep and lasting satisfaction that goes beyond the temporary pleasure of personal success. In conclusion, living with integrity and fulfillment is made possible when we put God first. God's guidance provides us with a moral foundation, helps us resist temptation, and aligns our actions with our beliefs. True fulfillment comes not from external achievements, but from living in alignment with God's purpose and finding joy in serving others. By living with integrity and focusing on our relationship with God, we experience a deeper sense of peace, purpose, and fulfillment that cannot be found in the things of this world.